Hi, this is Teacher Bob. Make It With You is a #1 hit song by an American soft rock band, Bread. It was written by David Gates, who was a member of the band. The song appeared on their 1970 album, On the Waters. Before we proceed to learning the chords, let me discuss some basic stuffs. For the left hand, index finger is numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. The strings are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. And these spaces are called frets. This is first fret, second fret, third fret, and fourth fret. And this plastic one is the nut. And this board is called fretboard. For more discussion on the parts of the ukulele, click this link for that lesson. This is a chord box. It is a representation of the fretboard of the ukulele held vertical. The thicker line is the nut, and the other horizontal lines are the fret wires. These spaces are the frets, and here's first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and so on. And this is string number 1, 2, 3, and 4. When a chord box is filled with data, then it is a diagram for a chord. This is the chord diagram for C major. The dot represents a fingertip. And which fingertip is that? Since we have 4, that would be the tip of the ring finger, as the ring finger is numbered 3. And the dot is on the first string. And at which fret? It's at third fret. And the other strings are left open. They are marked O's. These 3 strings are left open. So for the diagram C major chord, the fingering is this one. As what I've said, chord diagrams are representations of chords with the fretboard held vertical. But we don't play with the fretboard held vertical, but horizontal. So I'm going to rotate the chord diagram so that it follows the orientation of the fretboard. Now, the thicker line is this one, the nut, and the other vertical lines are the fret wires. And so these spaces are the frets. And so here's the first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and so on. And this string is the number 1 string, 2, 3, and 4. And so for that chord diagram for C major, the fingering is this one. We have this string marked O's because they are left open. And the first string has a dot at third fret, and that is number 3. That means it's for the ring finger, the tip of the ring finger. I believe that rotating the chord diagram so that it aligns the orientation of the ukulele during playing would help our reading or interpretation of the diagrams easier. Now let's learn the chords. Let's begin with the intro. And the first chord is E major 7th. And as you can see, number 1 finger on the 4th string at 1st fret, number 2 finger on the 1st string at 2nd fret, number 3 finger on the 3rd string at 3rd fret. The 2nd string is marked with an O, so it's left open. And this is the sound. It's followed by A major 7th. And as you can see in the diagram, you only have 2 dots, 1 and 2. You would notice that the dot number 1 is still on the same spot, on the same string and at the same fret. You only have to move number 2, which is this one, to the 3rd string at 1st fret, this one. And the ring finger, or number 3 finger, goes out. So here, so for A major 7th, you have number 2 and number 1 strings left open, and this is the sound. And the sequence of E major 7th to A major 7th is played for 2 rounds for the intro, and it goes like this. Verse number 1. The sequence of chords for verse number 1 is the same as verse number 3. And it starts with E major 7, which you already have learned. And it's followed by A major 7, which you also have learned. And then it goes back to E major 7th and to A major 7th. And then it's followed by A major chord. And as you can see, there are 2 dots, number 2 and 3. And you would notice that the number 2 dot is still on the same string at same fret. So we have to keep this one, but we have to take out the index finger. And then the number 3 finger, which is the ring finger, goes to the 4th string at 2nd fret. So this is A major. And we still have the 2nd string and the 1st strings left open. And A major chord is followed by G sharp minor. And as you can see, the formation of number 2 and number 3 is the same for G sharp minor, but at different fret position. So all we have to do is, the number 2 finger, we move it to 3rd fret, and so the number 3 finger moves to 4th fret. So in other words, just bring these 2 fingers 2 frets up, and it would get here. But we still have to add 2 more fingers, as G sharp minor has 4 dots. The other dot is numbered 1, and that would be the index finger on the 1st string at 2nd fret here. And then the last dot is the number 4, which is your pinky, on the 2nd string at 4th fret here. And this is G sharp minor. So from A major, which is this one, to G sharp minor, just slide these 2 fingers 2 frets up, and then add number 4 and number 1, and there you have G sharp minor. If you want, you may use your index as a bar finger. Instead of pressing just the 1st string, you press all 4 strings, which is what I do, as I find it more comfortable to use my index finger as a bar than pressing just 1 string for this chord. So if I would transition from A major to G sharp minor, I would use my index finger as a bar. So it goes like this. And then G sharp minor is followed by F sharp minor. And you would notice that you have this formation. Same dots, same numbering of the dots. The only difference is the fret position. For F sharp minor, you have your number 2 finger on the same string but at 1st fret. So that means moving 2 frets down. So all we have to do is just bring the whole thing, these 3 fingers, 2 frets back here. So this is F sharp minor. But of course, the index finger will be off the board. So as a demo, for transitioning between G sharp minor to F sharp minor, it goes like this. Then F sharp minor is followed by B dominant 7th. And you would notice that for B dominant 7th, the number 2 dot is still on the same string, which is 3rd string, but at different fret. The number 2 finger would be at 3rd fret. So we'll move this finger 2 frets up. We'll take these fingers out, and then we'll be using the index or number 1 finger as a bar. As you can see on the diagram, you have number 1 dot on the 1st string, on the 2nd string, and also on the 4th string. Since the 3 dots are numbered 1, then that means you'll have to use your index finger or number 1 finger as a bar. So all you have to do is press all 4 strings here. Although this time your index finger or number one finger is also pressing the third string, but it's not making the sound. It's the middle finger or the number two finger that's making the sound on the third string. So for B7, this would be the fingering. So as a demo for transitioning from F sharp minor to B dominant 7, it goes like this. The chords and sequence of chords for verse number 2 is the same as verse number 4. And it begins with E major 7th, which you already know. It's followed by A major 7th, which you already have learned. And then it goes back to E major 7th, to A major 7th, to A major, which you also have learned, and to G sharp minor, which you also have learned. But then for verse 2 and verse 4, G sharp minor is followed by C sharp major. And as you can see on the diagram, you have number 1 dots at 4th fret. You still have number 2 finger on the same string at 3rd string, and the number 3 finger on the 4th string. The only difference is that your index finger or the number 1 finger is at 4th fret, your number 2 finger is at 5th fret, and the number 3 finger is at 6th fret. So it's like moving the whole thing 2 frets up, but without the pinky or the small finger or the number 4 finger. So transitioning from G sharp minor to C sharp major is just move the whole thing 2 frets up and take out the number 4 finger. So this is C sharp major. So transitioning from G sharp minor to C sharp major is like this. And then C sharp major is followed by B7 suspended 2nd. And as you can see on the diagram, it's a totally different shape. You have your index finger or number 1 finger on the 3rd string at 1st fret here. Number 2 finger on the 4th string at 2nd fret. Number 3 finger on the 3rd string at 2nd fret. And number 4 finger on the 1st string at 2nd fret. So here. So the transition from C sharp major to B7 suspended 2nd is like this. So it may be a challenge for you to move from this shape to this shape. So all you have to do is just make an exercise out of these 2 chords, C sharp major to B7 suspended 2nd. Then B dominant 7th suspended 2nd is followed by E major. And looking at the diagram, you'd see your index finger, number 1 finger on the 1st string at 2nd fret, number 2 finger on the 4th string at 4th fret, number 3 finger on the 3rd string at 4th fret, and number 4 finger on the 2nd string at 4th fret. So you have 3 fingers at 4th fret. And this is the sound of E major. And then this is followed by A major chord, which you already know. So here. And then it goes back to E major. So from B dominant 7th suspended 2nd for 1 measure, it goes to E major for 1 measure. And then to A major chord for 1 measure. And then back to E major chord for 1 measure. But the next part is a sequence of 4 chords, actually 3 chords. A major, G sharp minor, F sharp minor, and back to A major. And this transition happens within the same measure. So you have A, and then to G sharp minor, to F sharp minor, and then back to A major. So all you have to do is remember to play A major chord with the 2nd and 3rd finger, so that when you go to or when you move to G sharp minor, You can keep this formation, just move it 2 frets up, and then add the pinky or number 4 finger on the second string, and then the index finger on the first string, or as a bar. And then to F sharp minor, bring the whole thing 2 frets back, and then back to A, just take out the number 4 finger. So as a demo for that sequence, it goes like this. And for the instrumental part, it begins with the sequence E major 7th, A major 7th for 2 rounds. And it goes like this. Just like the intro or the other verses. And after this, you have B major chord. And as shown on the diagram, you have 2 dots, numbered 1 on the first and second string at 2nd fret. So here, I'll be using the index finger or number 1 finger as a bar. And I'll be pressing these 2 strings with the pad of the index finger. So here. And then the number 2 finger on the 3rd string at 3rd fret. So here. And the number 3 finger on the 4th string at 4th fret. So here. And this is B major. You can actually use your index to press all 4 strings, which is I'm more comfortable to. And then the next chord is E major chord, which you already know, and you have learned that it's this shape for E major chord. And you would notice that for E major chord, you can actually use your index as a bar here. And if you do this, the transitioning from B major chord to E major chord would be easier, as all you have to do is keep the index finger and reposition these 2 fingers here. Number 2 finger on the 4th string at 4th fret, number 3 finger on the 3rd string at 4th fret, and then the number 4 finger goes on the 2nd string at 4th fret. So transitioning would be easier if you play E major chord with your index as a bar instead of just pressing 1 string. So again, transitioning from B major chord to E major chord. Which I find easier than transitioning from this shape of B major chord to E major chord with the index finger just pressing the 1st string. And then after that sequence, you have B dominant 7th, which you already know. And as you would notice, it's really a lot easier if you use your index finger as a bar for E major chord. As all you have to do is to transition to B dominant 7th, you just move your number 2 finger to 3rd string at 3rd fret, and then take out the other 2 fingers. So here. So from E major chord to B dominant 7th. For verse number 5, you have E major 7th to A major 7th, back to E major 7th, to A major 7th, to A major, to G sharp minor, to C sharp major, to B dominant 7th suspended 2nd, to E major 7th, A major 7th, E major 7th, A major 7th, and then the outro, you have the E major 7th and A major 7th sequence. As for the rhythmic and strumming pattern, it's given here. As you can see, you have downstroke at count 1 and upstroke right at count 2, and it's immediately followed by a downstroke. And on the end, between counts 2 and 3, you have a downstroke. And the next stroke is an upstroke on the end between counts 3 and 4. But that upstroke is followed immediately by a downstroke. And the last stroke is a downstroke right at count 4. So I would suggest that you do it this way. You do 8-note counting and do it slow first, and follow the sequence of strokes for the pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and let me just mute the strings. 1 and 2. What you should do is as you count 2, that's when you do a couple of upstroke and downstroke. So 1 and 2, and then on the end it's another downstroke, and then on the end between counts 3 and 4, that's when you do another couple of upstroke and downstroke, and then another downstroke at count 4. So at a slow tempo, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 so that would be the rhythmic or strumming pattern for this song. Now let's talk about the playing time of each chord. So if we do 8-note counting, one measure is having 4 counts. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that's for one measure. So for 4 measures, it's going to be like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 I'll suggest that you do slow first, and then when you get comfortable at following the sequence of strokes or the pattern, that's when you can start off speeding the tempo a bit. Now as for the playing time, for the intro you'd see a sequence of E major 7th to A major 7th. E major 7th for one measure, A major 7th for one measure. But you see that E major 7th is preceded by a pair of dots, and A major 7th is followed by a pair of dots. Now that means you will have to do the sequence of E major 7th to A major 7th for 2 rounds. So it goes like this. So if the tempo is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it sounds like this. Now that's for the intro. As for verse 1, all of the chords are played for one measure each. So it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 for verse number 2, most of the chords are still for one measure each, except for the last measure of that verse where you have 4 chords: A, G sharp minor, F sharp minor, and A. And the strumming or rhythmic pattern for those chords is basically the same as the strumming pattern that I'm suggesting, except for B dominant 7th suspended 2nd, which is actually a whole note strum. That means you strum this chord, which is B dominant 7th suspended 2nd, just once, right at count 1, and you hold it for one measure: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then on the next one you move to the next chord, which is E major chord. If you want to learn more about basic rhythmic patterns, click to this link for that lesson. So as a demo for verse number 2, it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for verse number 3 is actually the same as verse number 1. So here it goes: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 for verse number 4 is actually the same as verse number 2. And here it goes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 for the instrumental part, as you can see, there's another strumming pattern, and that pattern for E major 7th would be applied also for A major 7th, and the pattern goes like this. You have downstroke at count 1, and then when you get to N between counts 1 and 2, you do a pair of down up, downstroke at count 2, and when you get to N between counts 2 and 3, you do a pair of down up, downstroke at count 3, and when you get to N between counts 3 and 4, you do a pair of down up, and at count 4 is a downstroke, and on the N after count 4, you do a pair of down up. So it's just like on every beat, 1, 2, 3, and 4, you do downstroke. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Or doing 8-note counting, just doing downstrokes on every beat count, it goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But we have strokes in between those beat counts, and those are the ones when you say N. And each time you say N, that's when you do a couple of down up. So it goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And you'll apply that for E major 7 and A major 7. And as you can see, E major 7 is preceded by double dots, and A major 7 is followed by double dots. So that means that sequence of E major 7 to A major 7, you'll have to do it for 2 rounds. And it goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 you carry on that pattern to the next chord, which is B major, and this is the shape. And for 2 measures, as you can see, the first B is preceded by a bar line, and it's followed by a bar line, and then it's followed by another B, and then another bar line. So that means you'll have to play B major chord for 2 measures, and with the same pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if I'm going to play that sequence of E major 7 to A major 7 for 2 rounds and B major for 2 measures, it goes like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 there. And then on the next measure, you have E major chord, which is this shape, and you see another pattern. Downstroke at count 1, and on the end after count 1 you have upstroke, but when you get to count number 2, you stop the strings from ringing. That's what break mean. And then on the end after count 2 you have another downstroke, and there's nothing that follows within that measure. So that means that downstroke right on the end, after or between counts 2 and 3, you'll have to hold it for the rest of the measure. So it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then on the next count 1, that's another measure, that's the next measure already, and that's for B dominant 7. And as you can see, the B dominant 7 also shows another pattern, but it's similar to the previous pattern. The only difference is that the strumming pattern, it's all downstrokes for B dominant 7. For E major chord, the sequence, the pattern is downstroke, upstroke, break, downstroke. But for B dominant 7, the pattern is downstroke, downstroke, break, downstroke. So the positioning of strokes are the same. The only difference is what kind of stroke. It's downstroke at count 1, but it's another downstroke on the end between counts 1 and 2. Whereas for the previous pattern, for E major chord, it's an upstroke at N. But for B dominant 7, it's a downstroke at N. So it goes like this. For B dominant 7, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and on the next measure, that would be for verse 5. So to do a demo for the sequence E major to B dominant 7, it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to do a demo for the whole instrumental part, it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 for verse number 5, we apply the main rhythmic pattern, and it goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 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 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the outro is played with E major 7th, A major 7th sequence for several rounds and fade out, and it sounds like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 Alternatively, you can actually play the outro by doing this: 2 rounds for E major 7 to A major 7 sequence, and then we do a final strum for E major 7 or final downstroke for E major 7, and it goes like this. I hope you find this lesson or tutorial helpful in learning to play the song on the ukulele. And if you learned something from this tutorial, don't forget to click the like button. And also, please do subscribe so that you'll get notified with the latest upload. And also, you help this channel grow. You can actually save this tutorial or content on your playlist so that you can go back to this lesson anytime you want. And also share this lesson so that others would also be able to learn to play the song on ukulele. Thank you so much for watching.